All right, and welcome back to another session of Pellet Tech 101. Today we're going to go through a thermocouple replacement inside of, this is a 1200, but most of the Quadra-Fire models are going to be the same. There's two different types of thermocouples that are used, primarily just depending on the length of that thermocouple based on the model. So just going to go through the basics here. We're inside a 1200 insert right now. But the first thing that we want to do is we want to remove the thermocouple ceramic cover. So a lot of times we can just rotate this back and forth and pull that forward to pull it off. Other times we need to loosen these two Phillips screws that are acting as like set points to hold the thermocouple cover in place. So if that happens to be the case, soak those down a little bit so that you can loosen them up. Otherwise, again, we just want to gently kind of turn this ceramic thermocouple cover, pull it towards us, and have it come off of the thermocouple itself. So we're just going to kind of set that aside. Keep in mind that the ceramic cover is fragile. So again, we want to make sure that we're not carelessly handling it and that we place it securely to the side when we're doing maintenance, cleaning, replacing the thermocouple. So now that we have that off, we can literally pull the thermocouple back. The thermocouple is wrapped in kind of like a braided wire right here. So it absolutely cannot hurt to have some hand protection while replacing the actual thermocouple. From here, I'm going to move the camera down to the ash pan because that's going to be the best area for us to fish this thermocouple out and release it from the electrical terminal. We're able to come over here by the side, find that braided wire, and pull that right out through the tube there. See if the camera can focus on that. All right, great. So it's now released from that area. Now in this particular one, let me just see if I can grab the right viewpoint right here. So on this particular thermocouple for the 1200, we have a yellow wire and a red wire going to a spade terminal block. So other units will have a connection wire that will go to a male and a female bullet, like on the Santa Fe, Contour, Castile. 1200, 1200i will have open spades that go to this terminal block. So I'm just going to grab a Phillips screwdriver right here. We're going to get that released. 1 second. All right, so we got a pretty decent view right here of the terminal block where the thermocouple wires are secured to. Again, always important when we're working with anything componentry-wise, electrical-wise in the stove, that we make sure that it's unplugged from wall power. Super important. So now that we've got the thermocouple pulled out to this point, again, all I'm going to do is loosen up these two Phillips screws. There's no need to take them all the way out, as these are open spade connections right there. So there's one. It also might help to grab a shorty Phillips too. I have a regular size and it's a little tight in here, so a shorty might be a little bit better. But there's our two connections right here. I will say that we ran across a few occasions where a new thermocouple has been installed in the unit, does not work correctly, and a person needs to reverse these two wires as far as how they're connected on that thermocouple block. So initially I would go ahead and recommend installing them exactly how you pulled the old ones out, the red wire and the yellow wire. And again, if you're still having issues with that thermocouple locking in after startup, go ahead and do a quick reverse on those wires and that should solve the problem. So that is replacement of the Quadra-Fire thermocouple. We're just going to go ahead and put it right back in. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put the thermocouple back in place, or if we're replacing it, putting the new one in. Again, I'm going to match the wires to the way that I took it out initially, and again, if we're having issues, we can reverse those, but we're going to have the yellow closest towards us and the red in the next terminal. So we want to make sure that we have good contact as we're putting these in. Okay, I'm going to just kind of hold it with one hand there as I get these tightened back up. And it's good to have these nice and snug, really secure down. Give them a little tug once you finish, just to make sure everything is nice and tight. And now we can go ahead and start rerouting the thermocouple back over to how we pulled it out. Okay, so again, we've got the thermocouple terminals nice and secured in place. Next, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run this wire right back through this small hole underneath the air intake channel right here. I'm going to feed the wire all the way in there, just like that. Next, I'm going to pivot this a little bit. And we're going to come back over underneath the ash pan where that wire is. And I'll bring the camera down there so we can see. But that's going to be the best way that we're going to fish that wire up to the top hole right here where it needs to feed through. All right, we're going to try to give this angle a try here. So again, I'm going to reach my hand in here. I'm going to find the head of that thermocouple. And again, I'm going to get it lined up. All right, so I just fished it from the bottom of the ash pan. We're just bringing it up through that hole right there, the top. So grab that up and through. I'm going to feed that through this little burn pot thermocouple holder right there. And again, want to generally about 1.5 inches or so to be hanging out over the burn pot. And from there, we will go ahead and slide that thermocouple ceramic cover back in place. So that's nice and secured inside of there. And that would be the replacement of the Quadra-Fire thermocouple, at least in the 1200i. Like I said, the cast steel insert Santa Fe contour will use a shorter thermocouple, still serves as the same purpose as a proof of fire device. So again, the unit will initially drop pellets during the feed cycle, igniter lights it, and this is what allows it to say, hey, there's a fire in there, it reaches proper temp, allows the unit to go into normal operation mode. So if your Quadra-Fire is burning out after startup, I highly suggest that we do an inspection and or replace the thermocouple if needed right there. But that would be the replacement of that. Now, depending on what kind of a control box we have in our Quadra-Fire stove right here, there will be some kind of some signals or some lights that we will see. So on a clear box, which these have been used for a number of different years, if we're seeing an orange blinking light that's coming out of there, that's going to indicate a thermocouple fault. So if we're seeing that orange blinking light, something is going on with our thermocouple. Always check the basics first, so double check your connections. Always check the basics first before you decide that the thermocouple needs to be replaced. So as we initially hit the start button right here and get the unit rocking and rolling, we're going to see a red call light come on. At 120 degrees, we see a green light come on inside of the board. And then once this thermocouple right here reaches a 600 degree temperature, this board is going to give us a solid red indication light. So those are the lights that take place. Earlier units will have either a black or a gray box where we cannot see those lights inside of there. However, if you need help, service, technical, troubleshooting, whatever it might be, leave us a comment below on the video here. We're always happy to assist. And that would be the general replacement of a thermocouple inside a Quadra-Fire. Thanks so much for joining us for another session of Pellet Tech 101, and we look forward to seeing you soon.